Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it is time for part 4. Yes, part 4 of the Monday Q&A. We got so many questions this week due to me announcing that I needed more questions that I decided to do a 4th installment. All right, first question. How to prevent your adductors from getting fried from squatting? Any specific exercises to make these stronger? It also seems to be my weak link in yoke runs, which result in pain location at the inside of the knee. This is the problem you're going to run into if you are a wide stance squatter or a sumo deadlifter. Your abductors and your adductors both can become a weak link because they're overstressed due to the wide stance. So if you normally do wide stance on these at any sort of high frequency, which you're going to be doing them at a very high frequency if you're trying to get a lot stronger. So the issue you're going to run into is that doing this wide stance stuff is going to be a problem. So I'm going to recommend that at least every other session, if you're a wider stance guy, that you drop the sumo and do a conventional deadlift. And on your squats, you bring that stance in and do a narrower stance. The wide stuff all the time can, quite frankly, tire these muscles out. So you do need to change it up. If you are predominantly a wide squatter and puller, you need to change these things up. Now, you can also do band work for these. This is one of the great uses for bands, is using bands to train both the abductors and the adductors by wrapping them around your legs to pull your legs apart, or you can also do them the opposite direction by tying them off on something on the edge of your power rack or whatever and moving your thigh in, so you can work this stuff with bands very, very well. And I'm going to assume that since you are training for strength, from the impression I get, that you do own a set of bands. So you'll probably find that useful. But those two tools together are what you really need, and you need to keep that in mind. You can't go wide all the time at a high frequency because these support muscles are really going to be a problem for you eventually. All right, next question. Are there any natural aromatase inhibitors that work, such as zinc? I don't know why you would think zinc is an aromatase inhibitor. That's absurd. My next question becomes, if you're using anabolics, then you need to be using a legitimate pharmaceutical grade aromatase inhibitor, or don't expect it to work. This over-the-counter stuff doesn't work well enough for that purpose. The other question I would ask is that if you're not on any drugs, why in the world would you want an aromatase inhibitor? If you lower your estrogen levels and you're in the healthy normal range, if your estrogen is in the normal range and you're healthy, now, if you're obese, you might have high estrogen because you're obese and you have more aromatase activity, so you need to lose fat. You don't need a substance to help you lower the aromatase. You need to burn some of your fat ass off. It's pretty straightforward here. But if you're in the normal range on your estrogen, if you lower your estrogen, you will hurt your sex drive. You might develop erectile dysfunction. Your lipid profiles will get messed up. You'll start lowering things like your HDL cholesterol. You'll put yourself up at higher risk of bone fractures, bone demineralization, cardiovascular health risks. And the worst part, if you're actually working out, you're going to gain less muscle. Estrogen in the normal range is anabolic. When you lower estrogen, your body creates a lot less IGF-1 inside muscle tissue. You have less total protein synthesis. So lowering your estrogen, if it's in the healthy range, is a very bad idea for your health, your gains, and your mental well-being. So it's really, really fucking stupid. Leave lowering estrogen to people who are injecting large quantities of aromatizing steroids. Anybody else has no business messing with an aromatase inhibitor. It's really fucking stupid to do so. All right, last question. If someone who is paralyzed in his legs would start using gear, would they grow or wouldn't they respond? Well, we know that supraphysiological doses of anabolics, from all the studies we have seen, and this is going to fly in the face of some guys who say, oh, they don't put muscle on you unless you train hard. No, they put more muscle on you if you train hard. They put more on, but we know from the studies that untrained individuals who inject steroids at pretty high doses, from the studies we've seen, gain more muscle than people who work out natural. And that's the reality. There is at least a dozen studies confirming this in untrained individuals, that guys who are running like 500 or 600 milligrams of testosterone a week, which is about 4 times what your body can produce, gain more muscle while sitting on the couch and not working out as long as they eat enough protein, than the people who actually work out who are completely natural. It's just slightly more. Now, when you combine the two, it really goes up. And we know that a lot of anabolic substances have direct anabolic responses inside of muscle tissue. This is one reason why some of the biggest, largest bodybuilders in the world get away with training a muscle group only once a week while using massive amounts of drugs, because they're growing on the drugs even without the training. The amount of drugs they're using, those guys would be gaining muscle if they didn't work out at all. And I hate to tell people that, and people are going to argue with me, but that is the truth. And we have plenty of data to back that. So, to answer your question, yes, that person's leg muscles would start growing most likely due to the hormones. It would start reversing some of the atrophy. The problem is that when you come off or you come back down to a normal range, because they may not be staying on 500 milligrams of testosterone for the next 20 years, they'll start atrophying again. Just like what happens when you come off of gear when you do train. You'll see the exact same thing. They will over time lose the muscle that they gained, and they'll be back to where they were as far as the atrophy. But yeah, it will reverse the atrophying. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time. But let me give you guys one last bicep shot first.